Welcome to the show today. We have Rouven Leuener today on the show, who is the head of product development at NZZ, the Neue Zürcher Zeitung. And I'm very excited to talk to you about, a couple of things: digital transformation in printing, in newspapers, but probably a lot more than just that. So let's dive right into your story. I'd love to learn a bit more about you. Who is Rouven, and what's your story that got you to where you are today?
Oh, we can talk that about that forever, I guess. But let's make it a bit short. I don't know. That starts very early, I guess. Very early in the things like early in the 90s. I think I was one of the first at my school having a pager. I don't know who is familiar with that still. And I remember being the first at my school having a mobile phone. And retrospective wise, um, this is something, like when you dive into like these new things and adapt it very quickly. I remember myself being in that space. I love that very much, and using this stuff and just I was loving it. So this was a big thing. I was managing director for a music club before I was 20. So that was kind of the first entrepreneurial instinct, kind of. So that's where I got that love from. And then when we step a bit ahead, I was having an own company during my university time. So that was like the true spirit of building web applications, websites, and everything. And then after that, I jumped into like jobs, as you and me like would say, the real jobs. I don't know, but because it was always like besides university when I had my startup, it was still a bit different. When you jump into the real life of being having a job at the company or whatever, that changes some things. But this is like the story where I would go through the last years, and here I am at the moment. I'm working for NZZ, as you said.
Love, love, love that. So I mean, so you've been always sort of like a tech pioneer a little bit with the pager, with the mobile phone and stuff. Just like testing new things, seeing like, hey, how does that work? What can I do with it? So it's interesting. Like when I talk to people like you, digital people, so to say, there's always that common theme. They were always sort of like, they got involved in stuff where other people went like, what is that magic? Like that mobile phone thing, like what is that? Or computers, what? Internet, what? You have an email address and stuff like that. So it's always sort of a common theme there, a red thread, I would say. It's really interesting. Now, I'm curious. I'm always curious about this. So, you're now leading this product development at NZZ. You did other things before, entrepreneurial ventures as well. So, I mean, is there a common thread in your life that you say, well, when I get up in the morning, that's really what gets me up in the morning. That's the reason why I do what I do every day. Is there a common thread there for you?
I don't know. I mean, I would say that for me, I need to love what I do, and if I start not loving what I do, I get a hard time getting up in the morning, and then I'm starting quitting my job internally, and I'm always the one. Even I mean, everyone loves free time and me time and everything, but honestly, I I'm not afraid, or I don't like or I like on a Sunday evening go to work the next day. Honestly, I can say that, and I love to get up in the morning because it's what we do here and what I did at other jobs. It was always really interesting, and it kept my brain alive, and I learned new things, and I had fun, and honestly, this is a very important part as well. Having fun with the team, building a high performance team, working with new methodologies, new processes, educate yourself on a nano level all the time, every day, just a bit, and doing on the other side that the other educations in like I'm doing a master's in a business master's as well, like doing everything, like keeping yourself alive. I think this is the thing that gets me up every day, and I would hate to know what I do when I get up in the morning. So I have a little plan. I have some. I try to avoid to have my my calendar full during the day. So I have a few things I know normally. So today, for example, one of my employees invited me for an early meeting at 7:15 in a cafe in Zurich. Well, let's do that. So it's cool. You never know what happens, and that's a cool thing.
I love that, and I think it's such a notion that sometimes gets lost. So I want to stay there for a second. This idea of really loving what you do, and there's lots of conceptual stuff out there that talks about this. Find your passion and stuff like that, which is sort of like going into this area of, well, find your passion somewhere out there. But I think it's really not about that. I mean, I think it's more about talking to people like you, which are really just engaged. There's this idea of engagement, disengagement at work and things like that. And I mean, when I first talked to you, I mean, there was just this pure energy already in the call. I mean, it's amazing to see somebody in a role where they just completely thrive and completely, are alive, like you said it, right? And I mean, some of the pointers you mentioned there, I think that could be interesting for people to also ponder about a little bit, is this notion of curiosity, constant growth, being really engaged, but not having a simple job or having stuff too simple or too easy, because you want to keep your brain alive. You want to make sure it's engaged. It's engaged in solving problems. It's engaged in really doing proactive things. And it's not just just assembly line work or just stuff where you move stuff from one Excel sheet into another, but it's really creative work, engaged work. And I find that really inspiring talking to you.
What you said is totally right, but I just want to admit that there are people who do creative work, and then there are the ones doing more the analytical work, and both is very, very interesting, and both needs to be done. So I have people in my team, they're very creative. They do the design sprints and everything. But on the other hand side, I have people, they're just doing the analysis work where they do questionnaires, stuff like this. So I think you need to combine both, because the more the analytic people, if you put them in a room, they will analyze. And the ones doing creative stuff, they will go over there and try to find some new cool button and never come back. So I think this must be a bit aligned. So I have a bit of both, and I try to have both in my team. So it has come some friction points, but that's exactly what I want. So I do a lot of inspirational stuff because I get inspired by all these people in here and in what happens in the world. But I think you need to have that aligned both. It's very important, and I just wanted to say that because extrovert people and doing creative stuff, they're all these are the cool people. But the ones who are introverts and doing analytical stuff is at least important.
I mean, that's the role of leadership. I mean, that's why we need more people like you, because you're the bridge between those two worlds that sometimes have a hard time of working with each other and even working by themselves, right? And I see that as a major role of leadership, just like you do. So absolutely agree, because there's I mean, everybody should focus on their strengths, and there's no point in I mean, when I say creative, I don't necessarily mean creative in a sense of always coming up with new ideas or like artist things or something like that. What I really mean by creative is focusing on your innate abilities, because we all have that. And some people are creative in an analytical sense. Others are creative in an artistic sense. Others are completely differently artistic in a more physical machinery sense, and that's what I meant there. So love your point. So that's why we need more leaders like you who build those bridges between those different worlds and allow each other to learn from each other and build those bridges. So totally love that. Now, I know you're engaged at NZZ, doing some really cool stuff. You told me last time about what you've been up to already and what you're up to now. So, honestly, for the first time when I, look at NZZ, it doesn't look like the most innovative company from the outside. But what you shared last time just completely blew my mind. So I want to dive a little bit into that. What's most exciting right now? What are you working on, and what have you been working on over the past couple of years?
Maybe the company from the outside looks, I just look at myself and it might be as gray as my sweater. I don't know. I mean, from the outside, it's not the shiny and the most energetic company. And I was asked to join the company a few years back, 3 years back. And I think I wouldn't have joined the company if I wouldn't have known people in there where I knew that these people are very fast forward. And in the last 3 years, a lot of things changed in this house, in this building. We developed new digital products. So in the last 3 years, I think we launched 6 digital products for new customers. For existing customers and everything. So strategically rebuilding every single digital product we have. And doing that, we in parallel build everything platform wise. So everything is in the platform. So at the moment, I would say we did our homework the last years and now we're ready to play. That was a hard bit. It was not only like building products and shipping them. Wasn't always not only like doing a good platform that is scalable. I think it's as well the management is extremely cool, I would say, because they allow everyone to learn to do more than they are expected to do, and that's why I would say we are as fast as we are at the moment. Even though from the outside perspective, it's always slow. Progress is never as fast as people want them to have. But I think if you do your stuff right, do the groundwork, do your homework, and then you can scale, build, play, and everything. So we are at the edge of like being able to do that. And besides that, we introduced new methodologies, like we do design sprints, we do design thinking, we do user-centric design, we do data-driven decisions. So that is as well a cultural change. What happened, and I'm really proud. It's not only a team doing that; it's a management allowing this to do. So it's both sides. It's like the management trusted us to do something. We delivered value, so we get a more trust, and so like it hired our level of collaboration. And I think this is the most important thing. Every time I have job hire talks with people, they always walk out and say, "Wow, I didn't think that you are so super modern. From the outside perspective, you're definitely not." And we need to work on that, definitely. So we need to attract people who are in the digital space, and we need them. So we need to change our outside perspective or outside picture there a lot.
Now, I love that. Thank you for sharing that, and also sharing the inside perspective, which is always really valuable. Now, you kind of like went a little bit into it, but I want to stay there and dive a little bit more into this. And my question is, how do you drive digital change? How do you drive change like what you've been driving in a company that, you know, hasn't been incredibly digital in the past? And because there's so many companies out there that struggle with this, right? And you mentioned a couple of things in terms of methodologies, in terms of where to start, in terms of culture. But maybe we can dive a little bit into it. What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced along the way, and how did you overcome them? If you could just maybe pick one or two that you feel were the biggest ones.
I mean, there are many challenges, honestly. I mean, of course, and when I started that job, and I knew what job I have and what my tasks are in the future, I just realized that it's impossible to do the job with the old methodologies we had. So the way you collaborate, the way you work together as a project manager, and then you have a designer, and then you have a concept guy or whatever. So all that stuff that didn't work out. So we were completely inefficient. We had people who were not motivated because there was 100 steerings about this, and then they had to go and fight for a very small thing with these people and everything. So I knew that there needs to be a change, and when we started with it, I introduced a few new things like a stage gate innovation process that helped like getting through a project, and I introduced like the customer centricity, and honestly, customer centricity is something everyone has hanging on their walls, and everyone says, yeah, we are very focused on our customers, but to really do it from the first idea to the last execution, to kill your own ideas and go through that process, and that is a change. And if I would answer the question, it's like, do it on a small scale and just do it. I have currently a project where everyone in-house said, no way, we don't want to do that. We have no time for that. Or, I don't know, I don't think it's a good idea. And we did a personalized weather forecast out of data, so kind of roboterjournalism. So we produce text out of data, and we did go from idea to working web prototype in less than 8 weeks. So everything we do at the moment is just do. And we build a culture in my team where everyone takes responsibility, where people have passion, and I support every knowledge they can get somewhere. And I think this like got the dice rolling. I don't know, like people looked at us and said, you have a cool team, and you do cool stuff. And this is just how we started, and we're just doers, we're shapers, and that is now spilling over. I think people are seeing that, not the management, all other teams, and we are very willed to share every knowledge we have. We are willed to embrace. We do workshops with everyone. We facilitate workshops, and I think it's about own knowledge, but it's as well about sharing. And doing stuff, even though everyone says no.
I mean, there's so many. Yeah, there's so many golden nuggets in there. I mean, one of them is there's so many. Where do I start? I mean, one of them is really just not looking just at your garden and saying, okay, I have a job, let me just do that job. But I mean, you're spilling into the entire company because of your energy, because of the passion, because of the drive. So what you do is, you not only do that yourself, but you build a team with that passion, with that drive, who wants to take responsibility, wants to do more than just what they're given. And I mean, that ripples, and it ripples exponentially. And it's a culture shift, it's a mindset shift, and it's just, but it's also a shift in leadership. Like, how do you lead people? How do you engage people in a different way? Or maybe it's not engaging people and saying, okay, you're loyal if I pay you 20% more than the competition. Maybe there's a different factor that is more important, right? Which is engagement, passion, fun stuff, you know, and really aligning people's goals with the company's goals. And, you know, it's stuff that everybody talks about, but very few leaders and organizations have really figured out how to go about it, because there's no game plan, there's no map, there's no blueprint. It's just like, there's no leadership blueprint. It's just, there's every person has their own DNA, and because of that, there's no blueprint, because, you know, leadership is something from it's a very personal thing. It's a very personality driven thing. And
absolutely. And you know, there are a few things you can just take in and use, like the processes, the models, if you do customer development or whatever you do. So you can read a lot of stuff. So everything is out there, and then you just need to do it. And need to do it sounds so bad, I know, but just do the stuff. Just start doing. Just start doing without someone asks you to do that. And as this small prototype, I don't know where this goes to. Maybe no one will like it. We start now user testing for 4 weeks. And maybe after that 4 weeks, every one of our users say, no, that's boring. No one waited for that. And we're going to kill that. But I don't know how many prototypes we need to build until we find the secret sauce, or until we find something valuable for our users. And that's the thing, like exploring, doing and sharing, and that's all what we do. Literally, this is the secret sauce of it, and I can easily share that because I want everyone to be part of it, and I want everyone in here, in Switzerland, in that company, in the industry or outside the industry. I think we need to collaborate more with all together and bringing Switzerland a bit more, bring that more into an advanced way. And I think we need to collaborate more and share more knowledge and share more thoughts. So that's that. I'm totally persuaded by that.
You speak from my heart, and obviously you know that. So this is really exciting. So I want to dive a little bit into the future. We mentioned a couple of things before in terms of what you're working on, where things are heading. Maybe we can take it on an industry level a little bit and talk about printing and newspaper and things like that. I mean, there's, I think it was a couple of years ago, there was this idea, in a couple of years, there will be no more newspapers. Everybody will have these flexible iPads.
Personalized.
Bendable, exactly. They're like newspapers, but they're completely digital. You can read them from both sides or whatever. Obviously, we're not really there yet. It's a bit more like Minority Report idea, right? But it's still a little bit more into the future. So what's your perspective? So do you think paper will go away? Do you think things like that will go away? Do you think the printing industry will be dead from a newspaper perspective? Or do you think it's going to be more like a hybrid, or like where do you see things go in the next couple of years? What's your perspective?
I think for the newspaper and print, I would say it will still decrease in the next, I would say, 3 to 5 years to a level where the attention level is. So that will go down. So there will be less advertising spent on that. So that's that's for sure. And we know that, and we prepare for that. But I'm very persuaded that people need media, and they need independent media to make judgments. And I think media is needed as well as a gatekeeper to a certain extent, to know what is important and what's less important. And so I'm pretty sure that is needed in every country, and I hope that every country has at least 3 to 4 media companies, big media companies, where people can like use them all and have all media companies have an own perspective on a certain topic. And if you read more of them, you get like different perspectives, and I think then it's really easy for you to get, yes, I'm believing in this, or that is my opinion on that. So that's very important. And I hope this is still going to exist. But there are a lot of things like is going against that. So the advertising market is really hard. I do not believe that media companies are going to solely survive on online advertising. And out of like personalization efforts made by social media and everything, it's the voice of the smaller will not get enough attention. And I truly believe it's not about the big media companies only. They need to do still a good job and do the right things, but we need to have as well smaller news sites, microbloggings, and everything. I'm pretty sure that this has to be a really good coexistence. We have a lot of efforts here in Switzerland with smaller. It's not publishing houses. It's more like smaller news sites, and I love to see that. But I love that I hope that this kind of economic or internet or digital economics, where people are willing to pay for a good service, for a good experience, for high quality content, even though it's really, really hard to get what high quality journalism really is, that people are tending to pay for that, and that we can have some kind of a sustainability. But I would not cry out all the time as many do, like telling, oh my God, people need to buy from media because otherwise the media will not be there anymore. I think we need to do a really, really good job in the future Our journalists need to do a good job. We need to build the most excellent services and products ever been built in the market. We need to have that good experience as a Spotify experience you have with music. So there's a lot to do. Journalism is still needed. You can't copy that with AI. So there will always be there. And there will be a challenge on social media and on smaller sites as well. But I still hope, and there is hope, that these media companies are going to survive. And I'm really, really hard working for that, because, as I said you once, I think it's a cool purpose to work for truth, to fight for truth. And that's why I'm still here, because I think it's really important to work for a company or work for someone who is doing that. I'm pretty sure I would work for a yogurt company or a beer company too. But I think this purpose in a media company like NZZ is just unbeatable, I would say.
I love that. So basically what you're saying is, I mean, media itself obviously won't go away. It's just that maybe the role of media will be different. And obviously the revenue model and things will be very different, very likely will be very different. It's not just like it used to be, you know, digitalization used to be, let's take our offline model and put it online. Well, that didn't really work so well.
No, not really, and make it like free for everyone doesn't really make sense as well. So I think text is so easy to digitalize, and no one could see that coming in the early 2000s. So that's okay, but we need to do our job. And people like the New York Times, I don't like to name it all the time, because it's so big and they're doing a really good job, and sometimes you can't adapt it to Switzerland or to Europe. But I think they're doing a good job on the product side, but they're doing a very good job as well on the journalistic side. And I think it's for a company like this, this is valuable, and people are realizing it, and that's why they dive more and more into this subscription there. And I think we need to go the same way. And then the survival of that company is not totally fixed, but it's going into the right direction.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious from a media perspective, what do you think media as an industry needs over the next couple of years to really make that shift?
Oh, I don't know. I would say a lot of stuff who is needed, we will not be able to make that happen. So people are more and more willed to spend money online, like for Netflix and Spotify and everything. So this is the kind of economy we can't really push. So we can gather from that people are more and more willed to do that. But we need to do our job there as well. And internally, I think we need to stick to that high journalistic values. For example, we are all the time slower than anyone else here in Switzerland. But this is the case because we always have to have two sources telling a story. And before you push out something, we're going to check, we're going to fact check. And I think these values are becoming more important as being the first, but being the first who has the things right. And I think we need to stick to that, to set the bar really high so people still trust us. Yeah,
absolutely. That's a great input there. Now, I'd also love to hear from your personal side, in your role, what would be some of the things, if you had access to them, would make, your work easier or more efficient or more effortless?
I think time travel would be a good thing. No, honestly. For me, when I look back what we did the last years, and when I see what helped me all the time was having a really good network around me. Like when I had a problem, I could call people would help me, or would forward me to anyone who had the same problem, and we can share stuff. So I think network for me is a really important thing. And the second thing is that we need to have the smartest people on earth. People who are willed to work and they're passionate to work and they want to to go forward. And I think network and finding the right people is something we need, because we need to scale. We need to have people that challenge our assumptions and everything. So I think these two things are needed in the next years, because we are going into a transformation. We need to get more efficient. We need to scale differently as we did. Other companies are faster than we are. So there's a lot of stuff to come over the next years. But I think having the right people on board, either as an employee or as a network, I believe will help us to go through that.
I love that. So two things you mentioned that I pick out there is amazing talent is one thing. And the other thing is that exchange with peers, that you can call out people, pick up the phone and say, yes, let's share, let's exchange, let's talk about this. And the other way around as well, which is a peer-to-peer exchange. So
I go to very selected venues. I used to go to a lot of stuff, but I go to selected meetups. I go to selected festival or events where you meet not only same-minded people as well, where you meet people who are in a total different industry. I think this October or September, I was for the first time in news media festival, because I avoid this because it doesn't really help me. I like to go to other industries to see what they're facing, and then I can change or see what we can gather from that. So this is really important, I guess.
It is huge, yeah. I mean, having that diversity, and I think that is key in terms of exchanging with others. It's not just within your own bubble, but actually breaking out of that bubble, because that's really, what is innovation at the end of the day? It's not stuff that happens within one field or one industry. It's when different worlds come together under the same umbrella. So love that. Now, what's a good place for people to connect with you, to learn more about you, to learn more about what the company's up to? Maybe what are some digital places to connect?
First of all, I want to mention the non-digital place, because I don't know, I don't know if you can see that's just the Sechseleutenplatz. So if you ever around Sechseleutenplatz in winter, you can throw a snowball to my window, or you could just call me. You can go to the nice ladies at the entrance and ask for my name. So just come in. I will take my time to have a coffee with anyone who wants to have a chat with me. Otherwise, you can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Medium, whatever. So it's really easy to find. And I'm always here to have a chat, to have my views challenged, to get ideas, get new ideas developed. So always here. I would love to know every other story. So I'm really happy to answer everything. So
I love that offline aspect that you just added to the online world. So we're going to link to the online places down here. The offline place you should mention, which is pretty easy to get to in Zurich. So thank you so much for sharing your perspective, your insights. Really appreciate it. Thank you for being on the show.